asking you to support these amendments in the spirit with which they are presented, in bipartisanship and with respect for the Constitution. I thank you for the time, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Olszewski. Ms. Stansbury, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With the 15 minutes remaining, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Veterans Day. I represent a very humble set of communities in New Mexico's 1st Congressional District, and like others on this panel, I had the opportunity to celebrate and to honor our veterans in New Mexico today. And so I do have to say, Madam Chairwoman, I was looking forward to coming back here and having the opportunity to debate this bill, but over the last 5 hours since I've landed in Washington and listened to this debate, I just feel sad. I just feel sad. The people I represent are humble people. People who struggle to put food on the table, who struggle to put a roof over their head. Tens of thousands of federal workers who for the last how many ever weeks it's been, haven't known whether or not their jobs are going to be there at the end of the shutdown. People who literally didn't know how they were going to feed their children this weekend. They literally didn't know how they were going to feed their children this weekend. And so I find it heartbreaking, to be honest, to come here and sit in this committee. And literally, Madam Chair, I do appreciate that you are here doing your duty, but all other 8 members of the Republican Party who sit on this panel are not even in this room. And for the last 54 days, the House hasn't even been in session. It hasn't held votes, it hasn't heard bills, it hasn't sworn in the duly elected Congresswoman from Arizona. I heard a lot of expertise today about health insurance and how the Affordable Care Act is broken, but not a single one of the other 8 people on this panel, and I know you were here, Madam Chairwoman, because I have been back and forth across this country 13 times since the shutdown happened, and last time I was here, you gavelled me down on the House floor when I tried to introduce my bill, which is the exact amendment which I'm introducing tonight to save staff.
She did that to me too, so don't feel too bad.
So I know, Madam Chair. Yes, so you get a pass. But I do have to say that, you know, for your other 200 plus colleagues, the real question that I wanted to come here and ask tonight is, where have you been? What have you been doing for the last 8 weeks? Is the literally hundreds of thousands of people in my district didn't know how they were going to pay their rent, pay their mortgages, buy gas, put food on the table, and feed their children? Where were you? Where were you? And you're not even in this room tonight to even answer that question. I literally find it disgusting. I mean, it is a privilege to serve in Congress. It is a privilege. I grew up in a low-income family. I grew up in a humble family like the people that I represent, and I don't take for granted that I have the opportunity to come here every week and represent my people and show up for my people. So I want to know from our colleagues who I can literally hear laughing in the other room, where were you? Where were you for the last 8 weeks while the House was shut down and people in this country were left without food on the table? While the president was playing golf, he was demolishing the East Wing, he was throwing parties at Mar-a-Lago, and giving American taxpayers to a dictator in Argentina to bail him out before his election. Where were you? But you're not even here to answer that question tonight. So I don't know what else to say except for that I will explain my amendment, which is to protect SNAP. Because while the president chose to not disperse food benefits to 42 million Americans, and I heard one of the gentleman on the panel earlier say that he did everything he could. That is just a blatant lie, because he appealed a court who directed him to put that money into EBT accounts for 42 million Americans, and even asked the Supreme Court to intervene after a court ordered him to, because that is a lie. That is a lie. So the amendment that I am introducing today would protect SNAP benefits. It would make sure that no president, whether it's Donald Trump or any other president, could ever withhold SNAP benefits again during a shutdown. It would make sure continuity in the program, and it would reimburse states like New Mexico, who took the unprecedented action of spending tens of millions of dollars to make sure that our children would not starve, because we showed up for our people. Unlike, I'm sorry to say, Madam Chairwoman, your colleagues who are not here tonight. I yield back.
Thank you. Mr. Horsford, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Chair.